Hi guys, Patrick here, and today we're going to be talking about Umidigi's latest flagship, the A9 Pro. I've got the 6 gig 128GB variant here, and I'm really excited to show you guys what this phone is all about. Let's start with a quick unboxing. So, in box you get the phone itself, looking pretty neat and sharp. It comes covered with a clear TPU case, makes it feel all the more heavier, but more on that later. You also get the warranty card and the phone manual. Top that package you can see is the SIM ejector tool. You get a charging brick. It's a 10-watt charging brick, so nothing really special here. And you get a USB Type-C cable. That's pretty much all you get with the A9 Pro. Umidigi doesn't ship the phone with an earphone or any other accessory. With the unboxing out of the way, let's head over to the design and build quality of the A9 Pro. As a flagship from Umidigi, the A9 Pro comes with some flagship level design and build quality, at least to a certain extent. It's a glass sandwich build, so you get glass at the front and glass at the back, and it's pretty similar to the design and build on the A7 Pro if you've seen that device before. Up front, the phone is highlighted by a 6.3-inch display that's interrupted at the top by teardrop notch. Sitting atop the notch is a speaker grill for the front-facing speaker. The whole look is just cool and really nice on the first viewing. Of course, they are very thick bezels and a very noticeable chin as well. It all feels cool because it's still in the same design configuration with the phone, so it doesn't really stand out. Although the bezels are big and although the chin is large, it doesn't really stand out on the phone. Everything just feels well blended in. At the back of the phone you find a very massive camera bump. It houses the quad camera setup and also the AI thermometer, but more on that later. The bump protrudes out a lot. If you drop this phone on a flat surface, it's going to wobble, but again, it's still in the design configuration of the A9 Pro, so it doesn't feel out of place. Like virtually every other smartphone in this price range, the A9 Pro comes with plastic rims, and the design is really cool. I don't fault anything there, but it looks like something that would chafe off easily with frequent use. On the right side of that rim, you're going to find the power button and the volume rocker, and it's well placed. My only complaint is that they feel a bit shaky and wobbly. It's the same case with the extra customizable button on the left side of the A9 Pro. Looks good, but feels shaky. So overall, I'll give the A9 Pro a 7 over 10 for looks and design. It's a good looking phone, don't get me wrong, but it could be improvements, especially when it comes to the build quality. So if you're looking to get the A9 Pro, performance is probably top of the feature checklist. And the good news is the phone doesn't disappoint. I've got the 6 gig 128 gig variant here, but you could get the phone with either 4 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes of RAM. Whichever model you get, the phone is powered by a Helio P60 processor that delivers a very smooth Android using experience overall. Apps launch fast, the general UI experience is smooth, and even when you decide to take it up a notch and launch some performance intensive games, the phone still manages to keep up with its pace. Multitasking and switching through apps is also amazing. Through the time I've had the phone, I've been able to run countless apps in the background, and switching through each and every one of them was very smooth and effortless. Overall, when it comes to performance, the A9 Pro knocks it right out of the park. You're not going to have any regrets if top tier performance is what you're searching for. Umidigi makes some really nice cameras for his flagship phone, so I was really excited to try out the quad camera setup on the A9 Pro. I'm going to skip through the technical bits and just dive straight into it. The performance was amazing. In broad daylight, images from the back and the front camera came out spectacular with enough color, enough clarity, enough sharpness and depth. It really exceeded what I had expected from this phone, especially considering what I had seen on the lesser priced A7S, which was horrible, by the way. In low light conditions, as would be indoor environments and the outdoors after daylight, the picture quality kind of drops. with the drop being more noticeable with the front camera setup than the back camera setup. But that's pretty much expected for smartphone cameras, especially smartphone cameras in this price range. So it's not anything out of the ordinary, just the usual quality drop when the camera is struggling with light. One thing to note though, in those low light conditions, I found that the camera module becomes buggy and laggy when taking photos with the front facing camera. But I guess that's a software issue, and with the over the air update already lined up for download, it could be resolved. The A9 Pro houses a Full HD 180p display. It's an IPS panel with a pixel density of 106 ppi and a screen refresh rate of 60 Hz. So pretty much standard screen config for a device in this price bracket. Don't worry if any of that sounds confusing. What you need to know is that images and videos come out pretty great on the A9 Pro. I couldn't make out any individual pixels when using the phone, and the color quality was okay. It certainly lacks the depth, the vibrance and pitch you get from an AMOLED panel or from the IPS screen on the Cubo C30, but it's still okay and it fits the bill on the A9 Pro. It's also very bright, so you can use this in outdoors without squinting or struggling to identify things on the screen. So time to talk about the extras that come with the A9 Pro. So first we start with USB-C, customary USB-C. Back then it was an extra, but now it's not really that much. Pretty much every phone ships with USB-C. So we're just mentioning that for mentioning sake. The real deal is the extra customizable button and the back mounted contactless thermometer. So we're going to start with extra customizable button. On the A9 Pro, on the left hand side of the rim, you get an extra customizable button that you can pretty much map to a number of smartphone functions. Think of something like launching your camera, triggering Google Voice Assistant, or launching any app you want. I feel it's a very nice feature, and I've gotten myself to using it quite a lot in the few days I have had the A9 Pro. The contactless thermometer is another really nice feature to have, although I haven't got myself to using it that frequently. But I guess the reason was that we're in a pandemic situation globally, and it's good to have something to take temperature snappily. So an infrared thermometer should work very nicely, and Umidigi just did that. They included a contactless thermometer at the back of the phone, and from my testing, it works quite okay. It's not as accurate as what you get with a regular mercury in glass thermometer, but I'm sure it will detect the high fevers that come with coronavirus. So everything on board the A9 Pro draws power from a 4150 mAh lithium-ion battery. So pretty standard numbers once again here, and the A9 Pro should go a full day with mild to moderate use. Anything above that, maybe you do some performance intensive stuff like gaming or watching video, binging through videos, and you need your charging brick to stay with you. One thing I did notice also was that the battery seemed to drain disproportionately when it was in standby. So I could leave this phone for, let's say, 10 p.m. and by the time I got up the next day by 10 again, or let's say I sleep very long, the battery would have gone down by almost 10%. That's pretty absurd, and it's not what I get from the Oppo A93, for instance, which can go full night without even losing up to 1% of its battery life. Now, another drawback, this phone doesn't ship with a fast charger, again, unlike the A9 T3. So what you get is a 10-watt charger, the same thing you pretty much find in virtually every other budget smartphone from Chinese manufacturers, including Umidigi's entry-level budget A7S. Considering that this phone comes with USB-C and a Recon, it supports fast charging, Umidigi should have just thrown in a fast charger for their flagship. Flagship should come with flagship charger. But put that all aside, it's still a nice phone, and the charger doesn't do that bad. It gets the phone to 100% in about 2 hours, so not really that bad. As a way of concluding, let's talk about what's not like on the A9 Pro. Overall, I think there's little to hate about the A9 Pro when you picture it from a generalist perspective. What I mean is, when you take the A9 Pro, you look at its price and you look at all the features you get for that price, it's really hard to say, okay, this is very bad. But if we're going to be nitpicky, I guess you could point out the build quality and the non-inclusion of the fast charger as two things that stand out. In hand, the A9 Pro feels very heavy. It's heavier than pretty much every other competing smartphone I've reviewed. And if you're someone that likes things light and simple, that might be an issue. The non-inclusion of a fast charger, I think that comes into the picture because this is supposed to be Umidigi's flagship phone. So a little bit of that flagship touch would have hurt the company by a bit. But all that being said, I still think for the price, it's a great phone. The regular charger, the 10-watt charger that comes with this phone, powers it to 100% in 2 hours. And the design of the A9 Pro is actually very nice. Just the build quality, it being heavy, and the plastic ring being prone to chafing, those are the only two things that you should think about. But overall, when you picture everything together, it's still a very, very nice phone to buy. So should you buy it? Well, you should if you're looking for a budget smartphone that does everything you need to do. The A9 Pro is jack of all trades. It has good performance, a very good battery, an excellent camera with a little bit of problems here and there, but still excellent nonetheless, and a design that actually stands out. It could use some improvements in the build quality department, and Umidigi should have included a fast charging box, but for the price tag of $152, this phone is a great bargain.